mentioned Jack Jones yesterday, right? The corner from the Patriots. Just to kind of I asked Gang of Seven about Jack Jones. It seems like this guy's got a pretty checkered off the field thing that he's dealing with right now.
Got a lot going on behind the scenes.
A lot going on behind the scenes because I'm asking my guys worth a claim and all that. One of my guys goes, ton of off the field issues. And he goes, doubt the juice is worth the squeeze. But he said, I'm not against giving him a shot, but you have to have a really stable locker room for a guy like this. So
I feel like the Cowboys have a pretty stable locker room.
Yeah. Yeah. It just sounds like, there was like 3 guys got back to me and they were all like, I don't know, man, this guy's got some issues.
If you're a corner and Bill Belichick doesn't want you, I'm pretty out on it.
I don't know.
Belichick is just so strict with his rules, and that's why I would be intrigued. Like, what he has done to players at the Super Bowl or decided to bench starters and go with reserves because you are practicing better. Like, Bill Belichick is strict. Yeah. So I'd be open-minded to it. I think the guy probably has some things going on that I'd want a commitment to resolving. I don't want to give him a second chance as is. This should be rock bottom. Yeah. I just want to be the first guy calling, saying,
right,
hey, Mr. Agent Man, how's your guy taking this news?
Sure.
Be interesting to see. I think we got, if they waived him yesterday, he's subject to waivers, so we'll know after 3 o'clock today if somebody claimed him, right?
With the practice squad now being much larger than it's ever been, it's not a bad option if you liked his tape in college.
Right.
But I just wouldn't expect much from the player.
I agree with you on that. We'll see. We'll see how that all goes. All right. Hey, Zach, I got some Cowboys questions for you. And I teased this if this guy was slowing down. Yeah. Zach, is Micah Parsons slowing down?
Okay, so it's interesting that you asked this, and I brought that. We talked
about
last
year what happened. Remember last year what happened to him?
Yeah.
We got close to December, and he still has, we could talk about, you could look at the next gen with the get off times and the things like that, the pressures and stuff. But is it going to be another one of those periods where he's wore down at the end? And are we starting of that with the Giants?
I'm going to say no, because and he talked about this, and we'll play some of the audio later in the hodgepodge that, schematically they wanted him more off ball.
Yeah.
And I think that's why, and that's, the same reason why during last week's What You Drinking, What You Thinking, and we had that caller say, hey, I want Micah more off ball. I just don't think that's the best part of his game, right? His best attributes are let me go after the quarterback. That's what makes him a special player. That's what makes him a defensive player of the year. So I think it's less about him slowing down and just more about how he was utilized, and maybe he was frustrated, and maybe that's why you didn't see the motor, because he certainly seemed frustrated post-game based on his tweet.
Gavin?
I don't think he's slowing down. I just think that he's being asked to sacrifice for the team, and the team has a lot of good pass rushers. They don't have that many good linebackers, and I know linebackers are pass rushers, but when I say linebacker, I mean the stand-up guy. So we need your help doing more stand-up linebacker things than pass rushing linebacker things, and that happens. I would be annoyed if I'm him. I know he's got big plans, right? But this is where I think your willingness to do what the team is asking is tested a little bit. Everybody wants to be the hero. Everybody wants to be legendary. And when you get the talent, you're often put in those situations to go be that guy. But sometimes what's in the best interest of the team is for you to not necessarily be the glory player. And I think he's doing a pretty good job of handling that.
I went back and watched him play, just him individually. He was doubled 6 times in the game. They ran the read option at him twice, which affected him. He had one twist stunt that led to the Gallimore sack. He was put in cover 5 times. He was asked to cover 5 times in routes. That led to 3 sacks for the team. Motion across his face slowed him up, and he was laid off the ball several times. And there was a couple times where his effort just wasn't very good.
Yeah.
When you watch him play. I sat down and I said, okay, I'm just going to watch him play today, and kind of figure this out. To his point, like I say, one of the double teams he was able to split and get a pressure there. But
I don't think we've ever seen him be a great player other than when he's rushing the passer. So I just don't, before he became a pass rusher, as we're watching him before that injury, to Tank, right? Was it to Tank?
It was to Tank. Yeah, he broke his foot going into
We
that
weren't
Chargers game.
we weren't watching him in that preseason dominate at that position. You know, what we did watch him dominate at was the pass rushing. So I think these things don't come as naturally. Obviously, he hasn't practiced as much for 2.5 years now, so it's not surprising that he would be rusty, frustrated. But you know, the defense is getting the job done pretty good,
right?
So thanks for being in there.
You mentioned effort, and that stands out to me, right? And I think that's a frustrated player.
If you do watch the All 22, which a lot of guys and gals do, and I really applaud you guys for doing that. Just focus on him, and you'll see what I'm talking about. That tape does not lie about that. Right. It really doesn't. All right, Gavin.
Yeah.
Is Deron Bland the second best defensive player on the squad right now?
Oh, wow. I wouldn't go there, I think he's very opportunistic. I think he's got great ball skills, and he's a tremendous player. But I would go Tank, Micah, Osa, a healthy Diggs, So maybe I got him around my top 5.
How about you there?
Yeah, I mean, if you're still saying Micah's 1, I think I'd put Tank 2. I just still think Tank, and we talked about how underrated he is towards the end of the post game. To me, his pass rush numbers and his pass rush win rate is top 5 in the NFL. He's one of the best run defending edges in the NFL. The stats don't always tell the story with him, and that's what ticks fans off. But I'd still lean Tank.
I think it's getting pretty damn close that with the way that Bland's playing for you.
Yeah, he's been absolutely brilliant.
When you watch him and the awareness he had in that interception, the cover skills he has, his ability to tackle in space. The first pass that the Giants completed, it was out there in the flat. He had a one-on-one it, made a tackle right there to get him off the field. I love Tank. Don't get me twisted on that. But, man, I tell you what, Bland – He's been even better than advertised. I mean, we talked about he could fill in for Diggs, but he's doing that, and I think even more.
He gave up some big plays, right? Arizona
double
was bad.
moves, double moves. Yeah, he had the double
there
moves.
Were some big plays against the Chargers they could have had, but he has been really, really brilliant.
All right, hey Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the Buffalo Bills are now 5-5, and they're not playing particularly well.
Nope.
Are you now worried more about them in a game against the Cowboys, or the Cowboys functioning in a cold weather game?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm going to be more worried about them. I think they're going to be desperate. I think they're wounded. But I think they match the profile of a team that if they're going to throw caution to the wind and run their quarterback, I think they could give your defense big problems. So I'm still going to go with them. They're dangerous, even though they haven't looked great.
I think it is the weather. I think it's the cold weather. I mean, that's something that we've, I don't know that we've seen Dak necessarily play fantastic or play well.
And a lack of a running game.
Yeah.
At least right now.
That environment, I think right now is more of my fear than the Bills.
They don't run the ball particularly well
either. They don't run the ball well defensively. They've been without their best linebacker, their best corners out for the year, so they've got some holes. They're wounded as well. They're not that team that I think you're as scared of as we were when the season came out. I think it's definitely more of the weather and the environment there in Buffalo.
And just real quickly here, your thoughts on the news that Leighton Vander Esch will likely not suit up again?
I think it's probably the last time we've seen Leighton Vander Esch play in the NFL. I think he's probably leaning retirement. I don't know that, but I think it's probably the best for him considering the history of his injuries.
I agree on that.
Man, I think he did a great job making the most of it. When he first got here, I was excited about his long-term development. Then it became clear that his injury was a factor. And he had some moments on the podium and with the media that he really looked to be like emotional and defensive and immature. And he grew through that in a pretty big way to end up being not only a team leader, but a guy you could depend on the field for a couple of seasons. If he does continue, I won't be surprised because I think he loves football and he has a tremendous amount of dedication to the team, and we should salute him if it is the way out.